Hello everyone. Welcome to Mr. English channel. I'm sure that after listening to several podcasts from this channel, your listening skills will improve. We will tell you the fascinating story of Cinderella in several videos to improve your listening skills. Let's start it. Cinderella, the writer Hewitt W. Henry. There once lived a gentleman and his wife who were the parents of a lovely little daughter. When this child was only 9 years of age, her mother fell sick, finding her death coming on. She called her child to her and said to her, "My child, that happens to you with patience and everything always be good. Bear whatever evil and troubles you may suffer, and you will be happy in the end if you are so." Then the poor lady died, and her daughter was full of great grief at the loss of a mother so good and kind. The father, too, was unhappy, but he sought to get rid of his sorrow by marrying another wife, and he looked out for some prudent lady who might be a second mother to his child and a companion to himself. His choice fell on a widow lady of a proud and tyrannical temper, who had two daughters by a former marriage, both as haughty and bad-tempered as their mother. No sooner was the wedding over than the stepmother began to show her bad temper. She could not bear her stepdaughter's good qualities, that only showed up her daughter's unamiable ones still more obviously, and she accordingly compelled the poor girl to do all the drudgery of the household. It was she who washed the dishes and scrubbed down the stairs and polished the floors in my lady's chamber and in those of the two pert misses, her daughters, and while the latter slept on good feathers bed in elegant rooms, furnished with full-length looking-glasses, their sister lay in a wretched garret on old straw matters. Yet the poor thing bore this ill treatment very meekly, and didn't dare complain to her father, who thought so much of his wife that he would only have scolded her. When her work was done, she used to sit in the chimney corner amongst the sinners, which had caused the nickname of Cinderella to be given her by the family. Yet, for all her shabby clothes, Cinderella was 100 times prettier than her sisters. Let them be dressed over so magnificently. The poor little Cinder vanished. This harsh stepmother was a sore trial to her. Sadly by herself did she feel that there is no state, and how often, as she mother like your own, the dear parent whose flesh and blood we are, and who bears all our little cares and sorrows tenderly as in the apple of her eye. It happened that the king's son gave a ball, to which he invited all the nobility, and as our two young ladies made a great figure in the world, they began to be very busy. So, were included in the list of invitations choosing what headdress and which gown would be the most becoming. Here was fresh work for poor Cinderella, for it was she, forsooth, who was to start and get up their ruffles, and iron all their fine linen, and nothing but dress was talked about for days together. I, said the eldest, shall put on my red velvet dress with my point lace trimmings. And I, said the young sister, shall we wear usual petticoat, but shall set it off with my gold brocade train and my circlet of diamonds. They sent for a clever tire-woman to prepare the double rows of quilling for their caps, and they purchased a quantity of fashionably cut patches. They called in Cinderella to take her advice, as she had such good taste, and Cinderella not only advised them well, but offered to dress their hair, which they were pleased to accept. While she was thus busied, the sisters said to her, "And pray, Cinderella, would you like to go to the ball, nay?" "You are making me," replied the good girl. "It is not so far I such go to balls." "True enough," rejoined they. Folks would laugh to see a Cinderella at a court ball. These two stepsisters were very cruel to Cinderella and ill-used her much. Ha! What sweet friends are your own born sisters! There can be no substitutes like them in the whole wide world. Any other but Cinderella would have dressed their hair awry to punish them for their impertinence. But she was so good-natured that she dressed them most becomingly. Although they disdained her, and while they would themselves make a great figure in the world, sought to degrade and lower her. See how the lovely disposition of Cinderella shines out. Although she allowed to go to the ball of the king's son, she not only advised wasn't them well how they could array themselves to appear to the best advantage, but she even what greatness of heart to do with her own dresses hands, their hair, and the most becoming manner her delicate taste can suggest. The two sisters were so delighted that they scarcely ate a morsel for a couple of days. They spent their whole time before a looking-glass, and they would be laced so tight to make their waists as slender as possible that more than a dozen stay laces were broken in the attempt. The long-wished-for evening came at last, and these proud misses stepped into the carriage and drove away to the palace. Cinderella looked after the coach as far as she could see, and then returned to the kitchen in tears where, for the first time, she bewailed her hard and cruel degradation. She continued sobbing in the corner of the chimney until a rapping at the kitchen door roused her, and she got up to see what had occasioned it. She found a little old beggar woman hobbling on crutches, who besought her to give her some food. "I have only part of my own supper for you, goody, which is no better than a dry crust. But if you like to step in warm and yourself, you can do so, and welcome." "Thank you, my dear," said the old woman in a feeble, croaking voice. She then hobbled in and took her seat by the fire. "What are all these tears, my child?" said the old man. "Dearie, hey!" And then Cinderella told the old man all her griefs, how her sisters had gone to the ball, and how she wished to go too, but had no clothes or means to do so. "But you shall go, my darling," said the old woman, "or I am not queen of your good mother. Dry up your tears like a good daughter. Fearest to see the continuation of this story in the next video." Thank you so much for watching this far into the video. Remember to subscribe in the Mr. English channel and hit the bell icon to be notified when I post new videos.